Hello, I'm Steve Nichols from the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club, and we're at the NARC building at the CNS School in Norwich for a very momentous occasion. This afternoon, or later this afternoon, the youngsters here are going to be talking to this guy. This is ESA astronaut Tim Peake, who's on the International Space Station. It's 250 miles up, travelling at 17,500 miles per hour, and they are going to ask him some very serious, deep and probing questions about what life is like to be an astronaut, and hopefully they're going to be getting some really good answers as well. And that's all later this afternoon.
Hi, this is Charlotte. How do you get changed in space, but your clothes go everywhere? Over.
The contact was the result of months and months of planning, and it didn't stop there. All the youngsters had to rehearse their questions before the contact was made. It was also an opportunity for the ARIS team to make sure that all their radio and TV equipment was working properly and that the contact could be broadcast around the UK.
CQ.
An amateur radio special event station with the call sign MX0YHC also attracted a lot of attention. The station made 75 voice contacts with the UK, France, Belgium, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Sweden and Italy, all on 40 metres. It also had some guest operators, including 15-year-old CNS student Tim Peake, M6HTJ, who gained his licence through Norfolk Amateur Radio Club and who made the initial contact with Tim Peake.
And what I want to do is to just tell you a little bit about my world of partly amateur radio, which is...
Norfolk Amateur Radio Club's very own Jim Bacon, G3YLA, a professional meteorologist, gave a presentation about weather satellites. Jim explained how weather satellites have revolutionised his industry, making forecasts far more accurate.
And also coming to see us a couple of weeks ago when we had a few tasks for you to take part with.
Mark says, I'm David, I'm from the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club. There's over 100 of us here, and believe it or not, some of you from CNS. We meet in your school every Wednesday night.
2 weeks before the amateur radio contact with Tim Peake, a Ground Zero Day was held at the school. This was a chance for the youngsters involved to learn more about space science. Norfolk Amateur Radio Club organised a workshop that showed different aspects of radio and what you can do with it.
We've done the calculations, and this is the length that it needs to be in order for this to work. Okay?
Oh, what a fantastic project.
The first harked back to the earliest days of wireless, showing how a crystal set can turn radio waves into audio signals without the use of a battery. The crystal set used just a coil and a diode to receive medium wave radio. And by moving a tap along a coil, the students were able to tune into different stations.
But silicon's very similar to germanium, it's actually just a bit better. There's something that's similar to germanium.
I'm an engineer.
Another demonstration showed some of the latest digital amateur radio technology. Called APRS, the Automatic Packet Reporting System, it enables amateurs to track moving vehicles automatically and can also send digital messages from A to B. The International Space Station had an APRS system on board, and the amateurs were able to demonstrate they could send data packets to the ISS and receive an automatic acknowledgement.
And know who we're talking to, and I can have a conversation with him.
There was also a demonstration of Morse code. This was the earliest way of communicating via radio and responsible for saving countless lives when the Titanic sank in 1912. The youngsters had a chance to try and send their name in Morse code, seeing the results displayed on a computer screen.
And then, most importantly, one of these came back to that page.
A demonstration of radio waves showed how their polarization is crucial for maximum energy transfer. But when the receiving antenna was rotated through 90 degrees, the bulb failed to light due to the polarization being different.
Yeah, it's very, very critical and very, very important to make sure.
Finally, they were shown how radio waves carry energy and are able to light the fluorescent light bulb, even when it's just held in your hand. Students also saw how still images can be received from the International Space Station using a system called slow scan television. Photographs of astronaut Yuri Gagarin had been transmitted from the ISS last year to celebrate the history of Russian space exploration. These had been received using simple VHF amateur radio equipment and were decoded on a PC laptop.
Yeah, somewhere up here maybe, or... Is there something there? I think there's something there. Something there. Well, the radio waves that are out there and all around us all the time, they're a kind of energy. It's just that we can't really do much with it normally.
And everyone was just shocked. So this isn't
The radio workshop was a great success. It gave the youngsters a taste of what they would experience during the ISS contact with Tim Peake 2 weeks later. We've looked at aspects of Morse code in terms of radio. We've looked at how electromagnetic waves carry energy, and we looked at the polarization of those waves. We've actually sent packets up to a satellite or received packet information from a satellite. Looked at crystal set, which is one of the earliest radios back into the 1920s. A radio doesn't actually have to have batteries. And we've looked at images that have been received from the International Space Station, digital still images from the International Space Station. So we've tried to look at every aspect of radio we can in, an hour and a half.
Okay, so they had to have an emergency stop for that spacewalk, getting back into the International Space...
Dr. Helen Mason from Cambridge University also spoke about her work as a solar physicist. She said that we need to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers, and that Tim Peake is doing just that.
I think it's fantastic that the school's got this radio link up with Tim. And Tim himself is such an accessible person. He's so keen on engaging with students. And my particular perspective is on the sun and solar radiation and the effect that has. That's my area of research. But that also impacts on what's happening in the International Space Station. So he's doing a lot of science experiments, but he's also, as I say, doing a lot of experiments on himself to see how his body will respond. He has to train, and one of the things we've been involved with, he trains 2 to 3 hours a day. If he didn't train when he got back down to earth, he wouldn't be able to stand up. He loses a lot of bone, he loses a lot of muscle, his heart shrinks, so he has to train, and he's trying to encourage school children to train with him as well and get them a bit more active rather than just sitting looking at their computers all day.
The Contact Day attracted a lot of media interest with teams from BBC Look East and Anglia TV, as well as reporters from the Eastern Daily Press. They recorded the event and talked to the youngsters about their experience.
So I'm going to get the students to give their questions, Jamie.
So I'm with John Gould, the president of the RSGB. How important is this event to the Radio Society of Great Britain?
Well, I think it's absolutely massively important because it gives us a real opportunity to explore amateur radio to a large number of school children, and it's bringing newcomers into the hobby at that age group, which is so important to amateur radio, and quite honestly something that they will really enjoy through their life once they realise the opportunities.
And how important is amateur radio in terms of their STEM subjects?
Well, it covers all of the main sciences, maths, engineering, technology. It couldn't be more important, really.
Okay, and what sort of things could young radio amateurs do nowadays?
Well, it's always been a very broad hobby. The interests really keep changing year after year. You know, I was just thinking back, it's probably only sort of 10, 15 years when the actual radio equipment moved from being hardware to being partially hardware and software, and now very much a lot of it is completely software. So it really is continually changing, and it's difficult to predict or foresee really where it's going to go in the future because we're using technology and the mathematics that goes with it.
And if a youngster wanted to get involved in amateur radio and get a licence, how difficult is that nowadays?
Well, I think it's relatively straightforward. We've got 3 licensing levels, and as these children in this school and the preceding schools of ISS contacts have shown, they've managed to get the foundation licence in a relatively short time, just a few days' study.
Is it an expensive process?
Not really. I think like most hobbies there is a small cost, but local amateur radio clubs around the country offer tuition and examinations, and it's quite an affordable way in.
And I think later in Tim's mission, other radio hams will be able to talk to him as well.
Yes, well, I think we all want to. There's going to be quite a challenge, I think, when he opens it up to everybody. But yes, technically, quite modest equipment. They might have to experiment a bit with aerials and learn how to track the space station, but as we saw on a recent YouTube video, some amateurs down in Southampton, I think the Southampton University, with quite modest equipment went out and tracked it. Of course, it's a bit easy when it's early in the evening and you can actually see where it is.
And are you looking forward to this particular contact and the questions the children or youngsters are going to ask?
Yes, I've been involved in 2 of the 3 so far, and I'm just amazed at the wonderful questions these children seem to ask Tim, and more so that Tim comes up with some really good answers this time. I just hope that the pass is long enough today that we hear all the questions.
Okay, John Gould, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve.
My name is Kay Yeoman and I am from the University of East Anglia and I am the director of the school.
As the contact got closer, there was just enough time to hear from Professor Kay Yeoman of the University of East Anglia about their part in making the contact possible.
This bid with our partner schools, and we have helped fund the 2 days of events that we have had. Ground Control Day 2 weeks ago and today's Live Link event. It's my very great pleasure to now welcome Jim Bacon to speak about the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club and also monitoring weather systems. Jim was a very popular national television and radio weather presenter and is a very keen meteorologist.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon everybody, and I'm sure you're all as excited and thrilled to be here as I am. It is a wonderful occasion for the school, and
we also had a behind-the-scenes look at how the contact would be made and the technology that would be used.
Yes, I'm Noel Matthews, G8GTZ, and a part of the ARIS team that is doing the live link-ups for 10 schools during Tim Peake's Principia mission. And we're here at Norwich CNS, and just going to give you a quick walk through the setup that we've actually got. So the actual radio station on the uplink for VHF is here. So it's basically a TS2000 and a 6XY Yagi on an 80-foot tower at the back. And Carlos, G3 VHF, is the main operator for this afternoon. Got the Yagi cam over there so we can make sure the aerials are actually tracking. The aerials are being tracked using a program called PST Rotator. So for the very first time for the Principia mission, we're actually receiving amateur television signals from the ISS as well. These signals are on 2.3 gigahertz or the S-band, and we're receiving them both at the school here using a dish on a Land Rover, a 1.2 metre dish on the Land Rover, but also we've been loaned the use of a dish down at Goon Hilly, which is a 3.8 metre low Earth tracking satellite. And so over on this side we've got the video mixing and control desk, and here we're taking the video signals that come in from a couple of cameras in the room, but also from Goon Hilly and the local receiver, and mixing them to produce a webcast, which for the one of the schools we had over 1,600 viewers. The rest of the equipment is mainly for audio mixing. We take the contact audio both up and down from the ISS, and we mix that, put it out on the webcast, but also put it into the room PA system. So quite a complex system, and proving to be very, very successful in getting the message about amateur radio out than just to the 250 people in the room.
There's your Norfolk Amateur Radio Club badge.
Just before the contact, TV weatherman Jim Bacon also presented radio goodie bags to the youngsters who had gained their special ISS Amateur Radio Foundation licences with Norfolk Amateur Radio Club.
Right, there's yours. Now wear the badge, and you're a radio amateur. And you'll always be a radio amateur. Well done. Right. Somebody else embarking on an interesting hobby is Tim Hare. Now, Tim Hare is going to do another important job for us very shortly. So, Tim, welcome to your... And our next candidate who was successful was Tom Towadlisha, and his call sign, I haven't mentioned the other call signs, but it's M6LTT. That's quite a good one in Morse, actually, Tom. So, here's your goodie bag. And lastly, we have Sam Briggs, M6SNJ, who's starting a life of amateur radio, and science today. Well done, Sam. Good work, young man. And it looks like I keep the bag. Excellent. Right. I just want to say that anybody here can take an amateur radio licence. Anybody here can study for it and get into a hobby that's technically exciting and challenging, opens up loads of opportunities in your future going forward if you're a student. And if you're not of a student age, you can still be a student in electronics and amateur radio and gain from it. It's a fascinating hobby. So thank you to amateur radio for my enjoyment over the years in it. Thank you to meteorology for giving me something to talk about and giving me something I still enjoy after 50 years nearly. And thank you for technology and science. If you come onto the technology and science side of life, you're never going to be bored of things to do. You'll always have something interesting to do. Other sides are good too. This isn't an either or. But don't rule out science as a path forward. It's the most fantastic pathway you can tread. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Dobry dzień.
Bonjour. Buenos tardes.
Guten Tag.
Ni hao.
Welcome to the City of Norwich School's live link to Tim Peake on the ISS. It's great to have so many of you here today, including 22 schools from all over Norfolk, representatives from the UEA, the RC UK, ARIS, the Triathlon Trust, and many more organisations. We especially welcome the Lord Mayor of Norwich, Councillor Brenda Arthur, our local MP Clive Lewis, and everyone watching on the live webcast. My name is Morgan and I'm a Year 10 student from Norwich School. This is Daisy, a Year 11 student from Reepham, and this is Morgan, a Year 8 student from CNS.
Today we are looking forward to the amazing chance to speak live to Tim Peake on the International Space Station. And this has all been made possible by the ARIS team. ARIS are an international team that links school students to the amateur radio on the ISS. We are really grateful to Noel Matthews, Kieran Morgan and their incredible team from the Radio Society of Great Britain for making today possible.
But the main event was the contact with Tim Peake on the ISS, and the audience fell silent as they waited for Tim to make contact via amateur radio.
GB1SS, Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Sierra. This is GB2 CNS, Golf Bravo 2 Charlie November Sierra. Listening and standing by for scheduled contact with the ISS. Over. GB1SS, GB1SS, this is Golf Bravo 2 Charlie November Sierra, standing by for scheduled contacts. GB1SS, GB1SS, this is Golf Bravo 2 Charlie November Sierra. GB1SS, Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Sierra. This is GB2 CNS, Golf Bravo 2 Charlie November Sierra. Listening and standing by for a scheduled contact with the International Space Station. Hi Tim, this is Tim, M6HTJ. Are you ready for your first question? Over.
Hi, this is Maddie. What do you do if you cut yourself really badly in space? Over.
This is Austin. Are there any protocols or guidance in place if George Clooney comes knocking on the front door as he did in the film Gravity? Over.
I'm aware we're the only 6 human beings in space up here, so if anybody comes knocking on our hatch, I'm not opening it. Over.
Tim, it's Kieran M0XTD. We have you on Hand TV. Give us a wave. Here's your next question.
Hi, this is Sophie. What experiment would you like to add to your mission based on the experiences you have had? Over.
Hi, Sophie. I would like to see us doing more of the medical research, investigating some more vaccines and looking into new drug methods as well. I think that's some of the most exciting research we're doing up here. Over.
Hi, this is Max. In what ways does the lack of natural sunlight and fresh air affect you on the ISS? Over.
Hi Max, I love opening the windows in the cupola when I'm in Node 3 or in the Japanese module. I love the sunshine coming through the windows, and it does make a difference. It does kind of brighten up your day and make you feel better. And you just get used to the fact that we see so many day and night cycles. Over.
Hi, this is Charlotte. How do you get changed in space when your clothes go everywhere? Over.
Hi Charlotte, they do go everywhere. We have to use bungees, or we bungee our clothes down so they don't float off and you don't lose them. Over.
Hi, this is Eden. One of the experiments you are conducting in space is to measure fluid shifts in the body. In what way does this help us back on Earth? Over.
Hi Eden, that's a great question. Fluid shift really kicks off the whole process of the changes to our body. It's because of the fluid shift we get greater pressure in our head and we start to lose bone density as well. So that triggers all the changes, and it's by changing things in our body that we can learn about our body and we can investigate these things. Over.
Hi, this is Thomas. With the basic design of current spacecraft dating back decades, where do you think the next leap forward in spacecraft technology will occur? Over.
Hi Thomas, yes, I mean we're playing with basic rules of physics and gravity here and laws of motion, so I think that we're going to see big changes to our spacecraft in terms of our transit to Mars and transit to Moon, but in terms of getting to low Earth orbit, I don't think we're going to see many big changes that we have in current spacecraft design. Over.
Hi, this is Emily. How different was the training compared to the experience of actually launching into space? Over.
Hi Emily, the training was so good that it really prepared us for launching into space, and there are very few differences between what we were training for on ground and how we live and work up here in space. Over.
Hi, this is Millie. With improving technology on Earth, are there experiments that you are currently carrying out in space that could one day be repeated on Earth? Over.
Yes, there are loads of experiments up here that we're doing that could be repeated on Earth. I think that it's going to be a long time before we manage to sort of counter gravity for a long period of time on Earth. So we use parabolic flights and drop towers. But the benefit of being up here in low Earth orbit is, of course, we have microgravity continuously. So we can do those experiments for a very long time. But we do repeat the experiments back on Earth, of course, to see the changes, to see what's difference between space and Earth. Over.
Hi, this is Erin. Which material is being developed with the electromagnetic levitator will have the largest impact on the development of green living? Over.
Hi Erin. Well, I think the metal alloys are the one area of research that are going to have the big impact on greener living, because that will affect how our engines are designed, and in particular our commercial aircraft turbine blades and turbine engines, for example, which will cut down fuel production and cut down fuel usage and have a good impact in aviation. Over.
Hi, this is Maddie asking Lola's question. Since being in space, what has been your most amusing dream? Over.
Hi Maddie, do you know I haven't dreamt much up here in space, and when I do I dream of Earth. I haven't yet dreamt of being in space, and I think it's because we sleep quite heavily up here actually. I sleep quite well here in space. Over.
Hi, this is Austin asking Libby's question. If everyone in the room turned their lights on and off at the same time, would you see it from space? Over.
Hi Austin, yes you definitely would see it. You know, we would see a small village if you turned your lights on and off. It's amazing, but the lights really stand out very well from space, and certainly a major city turning their lights on and off would stand out very clearly. Over.
Hi, this is Sophie asking Ella's question. Which part of the Earth do you like orbiting over the most and why? Over.
Hi Sophie, I love orbiting over Africa. It just looks beautiful from space. It's like flying over a canvas of art. And also northern Canada is beautiful, especially right now with all the ice and even the sea is frozen up there. Over.
Hi, this is Max asking Amy's question. With sunrise and sunset occurring 16 times a day on board the ISS, does it have any noticeable effect on your body clock? Over.
Hi Max, that's a great question. Yes, it does. You know, if I'm looking in the cupola late at night when it's bright sunshine, it does take me a while to get to sleep. So I try not to do that. You have to try and trick your body that it's nighttime when it's time to go to sleep. Over.
Hi, this is Charlotte asking Mimi's question. How does being in space make you relate to your place in the universe? Over.
Hi Charlotte, that's a great question. You know, I mean, being up in space gives a different perspective and it makes you realise how vast the solar system is, how vast the universe is, and also it makes you realise that our planet, you know, it has no borders. It's got massive weather systems that affect all continents, and so it does give you that perspective of the planet as a whole. Over.
Hi, this is Eden asking Bruno's question. Is there a song or a piece of art that you think reproduces the feeling of being in zero gravity? If so, which one? Over.
Hi Eden, well there's nothing particular comes to mind, but you know some of those pictures where things look different upside down. For example, it might be a beautiful woman one way up and an old haggard woman the other way up. I think that's great because it makes you realise in space, of course, we have a different perspective depending on which way up we are. Over.
GB2CNS returning. That was fantastic, thank you. Everyone here would like to say a big thank you. This is GB2CNS handing back to GB1SS for the final. GB2CNS, off and clear.
It's been wonderful talking to everybody in Norwich this afternoon. Have a great day and thank you for those brilliant questions. Goodbye from the International Space Station. Out.
Well done, guys. Absolutely brilliant. I think they deserve a huge round of applause. And for putting somebody who's only just recently passed his amateur radio exam on the mic, well done, Tim. Talking about experiments, we measure it by the success in terms of what we expected and what we got. We got Tim. We got him floating sideways as well, which I haven't seen yet in one of these contacts, which was really good. But more importantly, we heard him, we talked to him, we asked him questions, he replied, you heard the answers, and you can today say that you were a part of this unique experience of talking to Tim on the space station. So I think you all need a round of applause yourselves.
So Tim, you just spoke to an astronaut. How did it go?
Well, it went fantastically. It was incredible. It's an out-of-the-world experience. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm feeling ecstatic.
Tim, you're now a radio amateur as well. So what are you hoping to get out of the hobby? What are you going to do?
I'm hoping to continue learning and investing in HF. We're going to start talking to people all over the world.
And I understand you study physics?
Yeah, I love physics at school, and I'm studying the sciences at school and having a great time doing it. It's been a phenomenal experience, and I can tell my grandchildren about it.
Okay, thanks. Well, what a fantastic day the youngsters had, and one they'll never forget. The Tim Peake contact with the International Space Station showed youngsters how amateur radio can be relevant to their science and maths studies. It's a fantastic hobby that could also sow the seeds for a future career in electronics or technology.
Hi, my name is Thomas and I'm from
A Foundation amateur radio licence can be gained after just 2 days of training, and the cost is minimal. An amateur radio doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. A basic VHF UHF handheld can be bought for less than £30.
Mike X-ray 0 Yankee Hotel Charlie, Golf Uniform 4 Echo Oscar November.
Hello Joseph, it's John here at G3WKL. Just wanted to have a quick word and say what a wonderful job everybody's done here today. It was an excellent satellite pass and question and answer session with Tim Peake, and great credit to the ARIS team and the ATC and various others that have made that possible, but also to the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club that have done a lot of work with the school and as well put on a good demonstration station today. So great thanks to them. So nice hearing you, a lovely signal down here in Norfolk, and all the very best to you. I'll hand the mic back to Andy.
Yeah, Golf Italy 0 India Oscar Golf on Mike X-ray 0 Yankee Hotel Charlie. Many thanks there for coming and working the station this afternoon here on 40 metres, and many thanks for talking to the students there. Golf Italy 0 India Oscar Golf on Mike X-ray 0 Yankee Hotel Charlie.